or Google her or do some such thing. She's really fascinating. She's had had an interesting life, and her story I think is quite is pretty cool. So she invented this pencil composition specifically for animation cells. So what this was kind of a grease pencil. They had wax and a solvent that reacted with cellulose, a plasticizing agent, and a binder, all in very specific ratio or bands of a ratio. So why is this kind of cool? Well, the binder holds the wax and the pencil together. The solvent holds the wax onto the cell. So it dissolves a little bit of that cellulose, just enough so the wax can grab on and stay on.
Yeah.
And the plasticizing agent keeps the solvent in the pencil from evaporating. So it was really kind of cool how you have these four things that you can then have it be shelf stable, leave it out on your table.
Yeah.
It doesn't evaporate or melt or burn up or something. And you can just pick it up and color with things. So it lets you draw more effectively.
Okay.
And this is what allowed, if you do some Google searching on this, this pencil composition was one of the factors in allowing for some of the darker colors to show up in animation. And Mary Weiser was one of I think she was involved or may have produced one of the early Disney shorts, which was revolutionary in that it had a lot of darker, more subtle colors as opposed to, bright, let's have some red and yellow type of stuff.
Yeah.
But, she's an interesting person who's worth reading more about.
That's cool.
Next one is US 2314629. It's a method of creating illusions.
Ooh, I like illusions.
1943. This is invented by Leonard Pickley.
I love that guy.
I like his name.
It's a great name.
It's a good name.
You're never going to forget Leonard Pickley.
I wouldn't call it a strong name, but it's a good name.
It's a name that makes me think I'd like to hang out with this dude and maybe have a sandwich and chat about what he's doing.
But not
and
for
what his
too
day is
long.
going. Well, that's why I said a sandwich.
Yeah,
Definitely not too long, yeah.
Right.
You have a sandwich, you have a nice
Glass
lunch.
of milk.
Glass, yeah, I'm with Bev on this. You just go your separate ways and enjoy your life.
Right.
So figure 2 is really cool. It shows Snow White as seen from the bottom of the well. That scene from Snow White.
Okay.
Now, the movie was a few years beforehand. But remember the I'm Wishing song where there's ripples in the water as if the camera is under the surface of the I'm wishing.
I would start singing it, but I can't hit that note.
It's too high.
Oh, just do like me and just sing badly and don't even get close.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't be. Full disclosure.
So it's kind of cool because the water is rippling and the virtual camera is under the surface and you're looking up at her. Well, how did they do this? They didn't animate the ripple. They had a sheet of glass with a, quote, and this is good patent language, undulatory surface under the cell. So the undulatory surface is composed of ridges of transparent lacquer. So there's your ripple effect.
All right.
So you kind of make the ripple with this transparent lacquer, and you just slide it along where you can move it up and down, and then you have a virtual ripple.
Wow.
In the water
That's
without
pretty
having
neat.
to draw it.
Very nice.
It's simple, but it's really cool.
Yeah.
So it goes to show that not every invention has to be, a self-driving car or a lunar module or something. Things that are simple can be really useful and just really clever on their own.
Wow, I like that.
So in the early Disneyland era, you start to see some patents show up for some rides and some Disneyland things in the early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So I think 3003430, that U.S. patent, invented by Jacob Hamill, is for a boat guiding apparatus. Which I believe is the earliest Disneyland issued patent. Now,
specifically for the park, not the company. Okay.
So let's take a guess. What would you think if I said boat guiding apparatus? What ride would you think that would cover?
Pirates.
That's a good guess.
Bev, what do you think? Boat guiding apparatus.
Yeah.
Early days of the
I'm
park.
thinking early days of the park.
I know because I read the thing.
The boat, the big boat.
The cement mixer? That's not a ride.
No, the big ship.
Oh, the one that goes around the island
Yeah.
in the
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain.
Thank
That's
you.
That's a good guess.
Very good guess. Jason, what do you think?
I know because I read it.
It's true.
Yeah.
I have another guess.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Small World.
That's a really good guess.
That's a good guess as well.
So we'll tease this a little bit longer. So what this does is it allows a boat coupled to a guide rail to bob in the water. So there's a guide rail under the surface of the water. There's a post.
Is it the Autopia boats? terrible.
There were
Autopia
Autopia
boats?
boats?
Oh,
think
that's
there
a,
were.
That's a, yeah, there were.
Yeah.
That was a good guess.
Autopia was bad enough.
There were
Speedboats.
many
man.
in
There
Autopia.
was some sort of boat thing.
No, it's
thing.
not. I don't believe it's Autopia.
I can't wait for all the feedback. What is Bev talking about
It's
Autopia
no,
boats
it's a
for?
thing.
Yeah. So there's a guidepost that's in a sleeve on the boat,
Okay.
and it's vertically slidable in the sleeve to allow the boat to bob,
Okay.
while still being coupled to the guide rail.
So
if you
you have a
imagine
little
kinda
movement.
So if you imagine kind of like a sleeve on the bottom that holds the boat on,
Mm-hmm.
or some wheeled thing, and then a post. Or a column, a hollow pipe that comes up, and the boat has a post that goes down a few feet into that pipe. The boat can still bob, but it's not going to come loose from that sort of post.
So
and it lets you bob along while still being
Got it.
guided by.
So
by
it's
the
like
post.
a bracket. The thing can slide up and down, so it's bobbing, but it never separates from the actual John.
Right.
Got it.
So I think it's the Jungle Cruise. So here's why I think that is.
Duh.
Oh.
So there's a couple of key sentences. Very few unknowing persons, however, can detect the boat is not being guided by a conventional rudder. The provision of the boat guiding apparatus frees the boat operator from the necessity of steering the boat, and accordingly, he may pay more attention to the safety of his passengers as well as their entertainment.
Oh, okay.
Because it is the only boat ride where the driver is not paying attention to driving the boat. Mark Twain, very serious. If you're ever up there, whatever.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And that's kind of it. Every other ride doesn't have a boat
And they
rider.
pretend to turn, but
Yeah.
It's like it's like they even had the idea for the patter when they were coming up with the ride.
Right.
Like it was part of their, and that to me what's what's cool about this patent is it gives you some idea about when they were sitting in a room thinking about what rides are we going to have and what are they all going to be like. It's like somebody thought back. I mean, even in that very early, let's draw on the chalkboard what we're thinking about doing. Somebody was thinking, well, what if it was a funny ride and a guy was entertaining the passengers, and what would that be like?
Right.
Well, and I think this whole episode actually is a testament to how smart of a businessman or how smart of businessmen they were. Yeah. I think it's actually probably more Roy, but I don't know. But that they sitting in that room coming up with these ideas, they're like, let's patent that. Let's patent that. Let's like let's just make sure no one else does it.
Oh, absolutely. That's what you got to do.
It's
Even-
really smart.
Even back then.
So yeah, they kind of went through the initial kind of core rides, and to the extent they had some things that were patentable, they went out and filed.
You got to.
3114, what's this, 332 is Matterhorn, a.k.a. bobsled amusement ride.
Oh.
So that,
Pretty literal, pretty
Exactly.
exact right there, yeah.
It's imagine if you went to Disneyland and you got in line and it was bobsled amusement ride. Do you think anybody
Sounds
would really want to
amazing.
ride that?
Not so
No.
much.
I'm surprised people want to ride it now, to be honest, but
Just because it's all
Valid.
jittery and shakes your tailbone and you see the Yeti and stuff.
yeah.
The Yeti's the good part.
Now that whole I think I love that ride. I loved it when I was a kid, and I love that ride today.
Yeah, it's a good ride. It hurts me.
It's
I want to
it's a
like
little
Too
it.
painful.
big. Yeah, I'm 6'5", and it's just cramming in that thing and then getting knocked around. It's tough for me.
If they could make that a little less painful somehow,
Yeah.
I
it was
would
less painful
appreciate
when it was
that.
the cuddle seats
Yeah,
Actually, it really was. Yeah.
because it wasn't like the rubber hurts. Like
Yeah.
it pulls at your skin,
agreed.
right? Thank you.
I don't know
Don't look
about
at me
that.
like that.
That's I've never had a seat pull at my skin before. It sounds like
You don't
something.
wear
It sounds
tank
like,
tops.
sounds like something Taryn would be afraid of. I don't want to because
Shut up.
It would.
It was also less painful 30 years ago too.
That's
so
true.
Oh, there's that,
that has
too.
also something to do with that. So the drawings are cool because it shows you the mountain and the path of the track in the mountain.
Oh wow.
And I think the path is pretty faithful to what the track looks like or is in the actual park. What I thought was kind of cool, I learned the water at the end actually performs some braking function. It's not just to get you wet.
Right.
And I mentioned this to my lovely wife Ann the other day as part of my show prep, and I said, I realized I learned this was for braking. She's like, well, duh. So she is the smart one in the family.
Right.
So that's just goes to show that a little more. What's also kind of cool is, you run across those tires in the middle of the ride that are spinning.
Uh-huh,
That
yes.
the car runs into. And I've always thought those were frankly a little janky for Disneyland.
It does seem a little like
Yeah.
Carnival County Fair-ish, for
It's
sure.
a little like, why are these Goodyears just here kind of spinning you along?
Hanging out.
The point is, they're kind of constant speed. They're run at a constant speed. So if you're moving too fast, they slow you down. And if you're moving too slow, they boost you up. But they're a little janky.
And that is in kind of a few rides. I think it's in
It's in
Splash.
It's in
isn't it?
Wheel of Death too.
Oh, interesting. I
How
did
is it
not
in
know
Wheel
that.
of Death?
You can, if you're there, when you're waiting in line to get into the swinging gondola, you have to be on that side.
Aye.
I mean, you might be able to see on the other one. I don't
Yeah.
know. I've never ridden that one.
Okay.
But there's clear as day, a couple tires just pushing it along.
Huh. Okay. That's interesting.
I always check the tread. I'm not even kidding.
Let's
What
take
would you do if there was no tread on there?
I mean, I'd still ride it, but I'd be like, oh, we gonna die.
I'm gonna die.
more
This is
than,
gonna be
more
worse.
than normal.
Right.
You just get trapped up there.
Right. Or
And who doesn't want
or
that?
down there.
Who doesn't want that? Let's take a break real fast.
Okay.
I really have to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Okay. So talk amongst yourselves.
I need to go grab the kid.
All right, we're moving. I'm like 2/3 done, 3/4 done. We're good. Cool. Am I getting too deep in the weeds, or are we okay?
No, I think you're doing great.
Thank you.
Are the microphones still on?
Can we have like a secret show among ourselves while they're not in the room?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So, Bev, how are you?
I'm great. I was apparently wrong. The Autopia was not called Autopia Boats. It was called the Motorboat Boat Cruise.
That is like the worst name for a thing ever.
Well, if you look at the pictures, it looks like Autopia on boats.
Autopia is the worst.
It's the worst.
God,
All this
it's.
hate mail's gonna come in. I love Autopia.
I understand why there's Autopia, because little kids want to drive.
And parents love them, and
And yet you take
Do
take your very small children to Disneyland because you want that experience of them having fun at Disneyland. And part of that experience is the driving. But it's just so painful. I think I had years ago wrote... Oh, I know. We're having a pre-secret show chatting about Autopia.
yeah.
I've often thought that, you could get Tesla to sponsor this thing, right?
I think Jason has actually said that.
I wrote in like a while back.
Maybe that was you.
Have like a 1-lane path. Put some paint stripes on either side. Simple autonomous. It's not hard to detect those stripes instead of having that rail. Then you have proximity sensing, so you're not bumping every car in front of you.
God, my husband Sam is the worst. He makes. So he rides with Abby because he's clearly the more fun of the two of us. But he makes me ride in front so that they can just ram into the back of me, even though they're not supposed to. And he's teaching her bad things.
Ram into mommy's car.
Makes me so mad.
Oh man, yeah, I can understand that. But yeah, we take the small children on Autopia unless they don't know that it exists.
Exactly.
Ruth was really young. Ruth, if
And
you're
it's
still
tucked away
listening,
and hidden.
exactly.
Yeah.
Ruth, if you're listening live now, so don't make us take you in November because you're not going to like it. But I don't think we told you that there was such a thing as Autopia when you were like 3 and we were 4 and we took you for the first time.
No, it didn't exist.
It hadn't been built yet. Yes. We were just chatting among ourselves.
Good.
Bonus content.
Bonus content. Bonus podcaster.
Taking the longest restroom break ever.
Well, we were talking for a while.
He's getting a snack.
You can talk on the mic, or eat on the mic. That's you want to talk in the mic, of course.
Because then we're gonna have to leave. We're gonna get kicked out if you're whining. So be cool, all right?
You're staring at Brian.
Be cool.
Hey, sweetheart.
She wants Sophie.
You were such a sweetie. That's a cute giraffe.
It's a thing. It's a thing for kids, and I never understood it, but she loves it.
Abby never had one. They're expensive. I didn't buy it.
I didn't buy it. I let someone buy it.
I think they're like $18 or $20. I was like, I'm good.
Rubber giraffe, dude.
So it's different than just a stuffed giraffe.
She has her
It's like,
finger. She has her
it's
knuckles she can
Okay.
chew on.
It's for
She
teething.
can chew on my knuckles for $18.
You can spray Star Scent on that though when you're done.
Oh yeah. She's looking at Brian.
Just wait until you're 2 and you start hanging out with the other kids and you all chew on each other's stuff. And Your immune system is great, but your parents aren't going to be as much.
All right. Excuse me. Wow, it's incredibly rude.
Talk about bonus content.
Bonus implies that it's good. All right, Brian, what's next?
All right, what's next is so we're about 2/3 of the way done here. Next up is the submarine amusement ride. You know, a trend in these titles: bobsled amusement ride, submarine amusement ride.
What if you ride the
That ride is also the worst.
What if you ride the submarine and you're not amused?
Then
Then you're Beverly.
yeah, you would be a human who went and rode the submarine. Sorry, Disneyland, I don't mean to be down on you, but man, that submarine. It's not that the submarine itself is kind of cool. It's the 2 hours you wait because you can fit like 14 people in that thing.
Oh yeah, well, and the
that's
line
the
is
worst.
the line is in the shade. It's shaded. So I think that's why a lot of people stand in that ride.
I thought I haven't been on it for so long. I thought you were being sarcastic. It is actually shaded.
No, it's actually shaded because it's underneath the monorail station. So
that's right.
So there's a bunch of shade, but also it's I don't like riding that ride because you're crammed in. You're breathing the test tube.
I've never thought that I was a claustrophobic person. I got in that ride and I was like.
Well, then I have good
And
news
then
for you.
I was convinced that we were actually. Spoiler alert! You're not actually underwater.
Well, no,
But I was
You're underwater.
But the whole thing is not underwater.
Correct.
Right.
That's
I was
absolutely
convinced
correct.
we were, and we were gonna sink, and we were gonna drown.
You're gonna sink in the tiny pond that you can see the bottom of.
But we would be trapped in the tube that would be
that's
leaking
true.
water.
All right, good point.
All the other people are going to be trying to
I
claw
just-
their way out.
And I'm just sitting there.
It'd be like that scene in Jaws 3 or whatever, where all the water starts pouring into the.
ridiculous. Yes.
No, that's a Beverly's. Thanks.
Beverly's life.
Beverly
No,
shouldn't.
I don't entirely disagree with you on that whole thing with the submarine. But that's how effective the illusion is, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
This is US 3114333, which is issued in 1963. It's now the Finding Nemo ride. So the drawings are really cool in that it shows the submarine and just how not under the water it is, and how much of it sticks up above the water.
I know.
Which is but that's the point is the illusion. So they have the viewing angle out of the windows is very limited, and they build the stuff out at kind of an angle toward the submarine above, so you can't see the sky. Right, so it's not just flat walls.
It's not
they
a straight.
incline. Right.
Right.
So if you imagine the submarine as a tube, and imagine it's not sitting in like a rectangular slot. It's sitting in a slot and you're going through a slot where the walls are sort of angled or curved inward, so that no matter where you can see from that window, it looks like you're underwater, even though your head is about at the top of your head might be at water level.
That's
so
interesting.
It's really pretty fascinating. There's also some interesting mention of how the bottom of the pool, there's some compressed air that's released to generate bubbles, which adds to the illusion. So for being a ride that's really just, not really anything that special, the special part of that is it really is a convincing illusion that you are under that water.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Well, and I remember feeling a sense of that I solved the puzzle when I figured out that you weren't actually all the way underwater.
Totally.
Which is stupid, because if you pay attention to the ride at all, you see the top of the stupid thing going around, and you don't understand that. What I like about a lot of Disney rides is that they're so segmented in how they work versus you being inside of them, whatever
very
they are.
immersive.
No pun intended.
Right.
Submersive? Anyway. Because it's like you see the top floating around, you're like, okay, the sub's not going down, but you don't really understand that. And then you get in the sub, and then you realize that the operator is looking out. The operator's not underwater.
Right.
You kind of are. And anyway, once you figure out the generic tricks like that, you just feel kind of cool.
Yeah, it's the Disney magic.
It's the Disney magic.
So next up is the Circarama, which I don't think I've ever heard you guys talk
Circarama?
about the Circarama. You're probably too young to have ever gone to the Circarama.
Yeah, I kind of want to now. I'm feeling nostalgic for Circarama.
So the Circarama used to be in the Astro Blasters building, kind of at the edge of Tomorrowland. And it was great because on a hot day, it was air-conditioned, it was big, you could just walk in, There was always room. As I recall, you'd line up and just kind of wander through this line inside the Circarama. It's a theater that had 11 screens.
Okay.
They were above your head. They were like 10 feet up, and they were arranged in a circle. This is this is an Oob-iWorks invention.
Ooh.
So
All right.
Oob, it's U.S. patent 2942516, issued in 1960. So the magic of this, so figure one, I'll at least show you guys because you're in here. You need to look up this patent because it is hilarious in every way. You see this early Google Street View car. So if you can see, I'll show this.
Get right into the mic.
Oh, wow.
This is an early Google Street View car.
Right.
There's 11 movie cameras on the top of like a 1956 family traveler station wagon.
Yeah,
they would drive around places.
Very
this thing is so
50s
great.
station wagon, and the cameras look like big giant drills or something. They don't.
Yeah.
Oh
With,
no, they're the.
with, like film. Like
they actually have the film canisters
Yeah.
attached to the, and they're
That's
in a
funny.
circle.
Yes.
In the luggage rack, for lack
Yep.
of a better description. Wow.
This is exactly right. And
Okay.
this is also this is also a thing that I learned. The cameras on that base are at the Disney Family Museum in San Francisco.
Oh.
Okay.
And it didn't have to be on the car, right? There were
Sure.
they hung it from an airplane. They would put it on boats. This thing was kind of an early Soarin'. In a way,
Okay.
right? It didn't have all the effects, and it wasn't the wind. It wasn't nearly as cool. But the idea was you're in the center of this circle of movies.
They do
and
that.
you're getting a 360-degree effect.
I wonder if they do a certain thing, the Canada Pavilion in Epcot.
I think it's exactly the same thing. Because I just Googled Circarama because I was like, what is this word? And that's the thing that comes up.
Okay. Interesting.
So here's a question.
Yes.
Why 11 screens? Or more to the point, why an odd number of screens?
Why 11 cameras?
Yeah, why 11 and not 10 or 8?
Because they
have no idea.
I would imagine the field of vision, they would measure out how wide the camera lens could be while still getting a lot of depth of field, and then figured out where to space the other one so it overlaps just a little bit.
It's a good guess.
Okay.
So the reason why
Yeah.
an odd and not even, and this is kind of the key innovation of this, is it let you put the projector between adjacent screens. Right? If there were an even number of screens, there'd be screens opposite each other in the Circarama. You'd have to project through one screen onto another, and vice versa. And it's gonna be weird looking in the center, where you send like this super high lumen dot of video of movie through to the next screen, and it's also going to darken it. It's going to be bad. This lets you, and the patent has it shows the sort of catwalk where the guy can go up and maintain the projector. But the projectors are right in between the screens, and they're oriented in a way where you really can't see them. So that's the illusion that gives you is that you've got this. It's got seams, but for the time that it was done, it seems pretty seamless when you're in there looking at that movie.
It's a really smart concept for way back then.
Yeah.
Imagine figuring that out.
Oh, man.
Imagine sitting there getting paid to figure that
You
out.
had to have started with an even number. And then you get there and you're like, oh, no.
Right.
Okay. Because,
Yeah.
nobody's going to think that 11. That's such a random.
Right.
Let's start with 9 and work up.
Well, I guarantee that Jason's right with regard to, in general, why 11 and not 4 or 20, right?
Yeah.
It had something to do with your depth of field.
It has to, right?
Width of field and all of that.
Yeah.
Plus, 20 is going to be, 21 would be impractical. How do you shove 21 cameras on that ring on top of the station wagon? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that was, I thought, really neat. And that was, I remember being much younger in the 70s, going to Disneyland in 76 and seeing that thing. And that was a lot of fun. So, Jason, here's one for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's US 3554-130. It is the Doom Buggy.
Oh, the
From the Haunted
Ghostmobile.
Mansion, the Ghostmobile. So this thing was issued in 1971.
Okay.
It was invented by Roger Broggie or Brogy. I'm not sure how you say that. He's also a Disney legend who has a Main Street window. And a gentleman named Bert Brundage.
We should do that.
We should
again.
do one of those again. I actually think I have one ready to go in
there
my
you go.
Google documents
All
somewhere.
right.
Nice.
Not
So-
today.
And according to my notes, I mentioned that considered the first Imagineer, but did not note which one was considered the. So one of these two guys
Okay.
is widely considered to be Roger Brogy or Bert Brundage is considered to be the first Imagineer. So
You all right, Bev? You got a weird look in
Roger
your face.
Bro, you just sounds familiar. Have we done that one already?
probably.
Yeah,
He has a
maybe.
window, and you've probably done it. So the Doom Buggy seems like just this simple little contraption, right? You get in,
Little
the thing
clamshell
opens.
kind of a deal.
So there's rails the Doom Buggy rides on, but then there's 3 control rails. Right? There's a stabilizing rail, a pitch control rail, and an orientation control rail. So there's some followers that are attached to the Doom Buggy to each one of those rails, and the stabilizing rail is only present in the loading area. So what happens?
Sure.
There's a follower. So when you hit the loading area, that follower that's on the stabilizing rail moves the buggy open. So that's what opens it up for you.
Opens the front of it, I
Opens the
guess.
front,
Okay.
right? So you can get
All right.
in. And then when you leave the station, the stabilizing rail ends, which is that kind of it comes off the rail, which is why the thing closes up.
Okay.
So that controls that. There's a pitch control rail, which is what keeps the seat level even when you're going up inclines, and also an orientation control rail, which controls your spinning. Sorry, I'm not close enough to the mic here.
That's all right.
Controls your rotation, so it controls what you see. Right, so when you're going from area to area, oh, here's the clock. Oh, now I'm going to rotate and see the ghostly dining room, and they're all having their ghostly Halloween or something, and that
Right.
the big. I forget my terminology for Haunted Mansion.
You're doing fine.
But all that, it's fascinating because all that stuff is mechanically programmed into the system with these rails.
Right.
Right. In 2018, if you built this from scratch, it will be motion control. It will
Oh,
be all
God.
software.
Yeah.
You're going to have stepper motors. You're going to have just essentially a motor in the bottom, and you're going to get controlled by software to where you're going to go. But this is kind of some analog programming, if you will, about how you're going to have that Doom Buggy
That's
work.
fascinating. Yeah, that's really neat that they had to sit there and put these rails in and make sure they were exactly where they wanted them to be and make sure the car did exactly what it was supposed to do at the exact same time.
So one fascinating thing about this patent to me, it's assigned to WED Enterprises.
Okay.
And it's big companies often do weird things with IP ownership for a variety of reasons. It can be tax or accounting, or I'm not smart enough to ever figure out the accounting behind some of that. That's what the accountants do, and they can figure out who to assign or what to assign to what entity. That's their job. That's what they can do. But it also kind of points out that whatever's on the face of the patent as to who owns it, that can change 5 times, and it doesn't get reprinted every time. And you can look that up online for some of the newer things. You have to go back and search, essentially on paper, for the older patents. In practice, what that means is you pay some guy in Virginia to walk over to the patent office and search it for you, and then tell you what it was.
Okay.
But it's interesting how there is at least one assigned to WED Enterprises. So after we have this sort of bulge of Disneyland patents, so as you get into the 90s, Disney starts to look like a big technology company.
Absolutely.
The art and the things that they invent start to broaden quite a bit. One of the bizarre things that I found from 1995, it's a one-off, and I wonder if they ever tried this, was U.S. Patent 5392735, Marine Mammal Communication Device. It's a device for teaching dolphins how to communicate with humans.
Huh. And I've heard stories about this, just in old wives' tales or whatever, but I had no idea this was actually a Disney patent.
I had no idea.
But it kind of makes a lot of sense.
I think there was a George C. Scott movie about this, like Day of the Dolphin, and there was like a dolphin that they trained to like blow up ships or something.
Well,
Planet of the Dolphins.
I would watch a movie called Planet
You
of the
would
Dolphins.
watch Planet of
I
the
would too.
Dolphins.
It'd be right up there with Wolf Cop, I'll tell you.
Oh my gosh.
I'll do that double feature with you. That'll be fun.
You are the only other person in the world.
Sam, don't lie to me.
That's true.
That would be badass. Excuse me. Let me. I think it was a Simpsons episode about the dolphins.
Probably.
Talking and
It's-
revolting too. But there's
yeah.
a Simpsons episode for everything.
Futurama, I think is what you mean.
Probably
I
so.
don't know. Anyway.
So there's an arm of Disney called Disney Research, and they're out in, I think they're based in Pittsburgh, that generates a big chunk of IP for Disney now. And you think why Pittsburgh? Well, there's Carnegie Mellon University. There's a huge engineering school, and it's a great engineering school. And I guess in California you don't always think about it so much, but if you're more out east, it is one of the great engineering schools in the U.S. And they generate a lot of inventions that you wouldn't necessarily expect from Disney. And there are some things that you guys have talked about on the show.
Yeah.
But it's AI, big data, LED lighting, robotics, drones,
Which is
VR.
really where they're like moving.
That's where the whole thing's going, man. Yeah.
But is exactly right. The entertainment applications of this stuff. And a lot of this technology is interesting in that it has applications in the theme park and outside the theme park, which means you've got more opportunities for monetization. The lightsaber, for example.
Yeah.
You could probably do that in the park and outside the park. And imagine, what
Yeah.
are kids going to pay for a realistic kind of lightsaber that they can
A
actually
VR
fight?
thing?
A VR
Yeah.
lightsaber.
Oh,
Well,
man.
it'll probably be in the Star Wars themed hotels for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely in Star Wars land.
Yeah.
But
I'll buy one.
Oh, for sure. $400 headset. Star Wars lightsaber, John. Easy.
I will be lightsabering every single person in Star Wars land, as will everybody else too, just because. And but that'll be cool.
The
Yeah.
sound of is going to be deafening.
Open up George Lucas like a tauntaun.
I'm not sure. It's funny, but I'm not sure I'd really get a lot of pleasure from that.
I would.
If I'd watched Phantom Menace first, then maybe that might be a different story.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. On the Senate floor. I'm sure you do.
So this is just kind of a quick glimpse, hopefully quick, at some of the things that we love about Disney, a little peek behind the curtain, some of the things that Disney disclosed about some animation technology and some rides and a few other items.
Okay.
So if you have more interest, look up those numbers in patents.google.com, read these things for yourself. If you're sort of a nerd like that about this stuff like I am, you might be entertained by that. And a little research might give you some cool information for things you can look for next time you're in the parks. So thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it, man.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it a lot. Let's go. What was that? What
hurt
are you
myself.
punching? Oh, actually, Brian.
Yes.
Excuse me. We do have. Are you all right, Bev?
No.
Bev's like throwing tables around.
I'm trying to do Taryn's job, and it's harder than you would think.
You have to get up and move and
I have
not
to
trip
move.
over anything.
Too late. I already failed.
Those are difficult things.
They are. Let's do the 7 questions. The ears up 7 questions for Brian.
Okay.
All right.
What is your favorite Disney attraction, Brian?
It's a good question.
Thank you.
Off the top of my head, I got to say Space Mountain.
That's a pretty solid off the top, dude. What's your least favorite?
And I prefer dark Space Mountain as opposed to light Space Mountain.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
for sure.
Least favorite attraction.
Yeah.
As much as I've slagged Autopia, I got to say that Storybook Cruise.
Really?
Totally.
That Storybook Cruise is one more. You wait for an hour plus, and you get in
In
there.
the sun.
In the sun. You wait.
All right.
When we took Ruth when she was really little,
Yeah.
we thought, I never see this is cool. I never even saw this. This will be great. And we wait for 90 minutes, and we have an excruciatingly slow ride to look at plants.
Exactly. We're looking at
And-
plants.
And
It was
miniature
very pretty.
castles.
Yeah.
It was pretty, but when we were thinking about, is it worth the 90 minutes we stood in line in the heat?
No, that ride's
Never.
not worth.
Probably not.
No, it's not worth 90 minutes because you can go
That
to
ride's not worth 30 minutes.
you can go to Home Depot and do the same thing.
Now, see, if I could get on there, if I could walk on, do it, and walk off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta say Storybook ride.
Okay. Pie-eyed Mickey or round-eyed Mickey?
Round-eyed Mickey.
What old ride should they bring back to the parks?
The Sky Gondola
I
thing.
agree so much.
I was lucky I had a chance to ride that when I was a little kid.
Yeah, me too. Me too, man. I have memories of it. I
Yeah.
think either that or I'm confusing the memories of those with the memories of the ones at Great America. It's kind of the same thing.
I'm super lucky in that I was born in Southern California and we lived in Los Alamitos and Seal Beach for a while. It wasn't far. At the time, you could get to Disneyland after work pretty quick.
Yeah.
So once every month or two, my dad would take me to Disneyland after work on like a Tuesday night. And we
Oh,
would
geez.
just go to Fantasyland for like an hour and go home.
Yeah.
And it was just the most awesome thing. There's some great memories I
I
have
think
with
it's like
my
20,
father and I.
Seal Beach is like 20 minutes away from the park or something, I think.
In theory.
Yeah,
Now,
well,
today,
not
it's
now.
like an hour and a half. But
Right.
if there's no traffic, you could get there in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was great. I remember very clearly being like 5 years old and riding the Sky Gondola with my
Wow,
dad.
That's cool. What current ride should they remove?
they should remove Autopia because it just takes up so much space.
They have a lot of land
so
there.
much room. And my Tomorrowland soapbox is most of Tomorrowland needs to just get removed and redone, with the exception of Space Mountain, because so much of that is just nothing now anyway.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's not Tomorrowland.
For sure.
It's Retro Futureland might be fun.
I would go there. Who is your favorite Disney character?
Man, there's so many. I'm not going to get into whether Star Wars or Marvel are a part of Disney. We're just going to exclude those.
Whatever you want to do, man.
Favorite Disney character?
Yeah.
Man.
Or woman.
Yeah, wah. I'm kind of going, how about that Thomas O'Malley from the Aristocats?
Thomas O'Malley.
Okay. By name, too.
He has like 5 other names, and I forget what his 5 other names are. And he loves the ladies.
Well, of course. What Thomas O'Malley doesn't. And then finally, if you could travel back in time and meet Walt Disney, what would you tell him?
It's cliche, but don't smoke.
Don't smoke. Most popular
That's
answer.
the most popular answer.
It's probably the only one. I don't know what else what kind of advice could I give Walt Disney? I mean, do something different. I mean, really?
Yeah.
What am I going to tell him to do different that he did badly other than, smoking
Other than
X packs a
smoking.
day?
Right. Let's do a little bit of Disney news here, Brian. You want to stay for that?
I would love to.
All right, let's do that.
Present and future with all the news that's fit to cover. It's the Ears Up Disney News.
A lot of stuff happening in the Disney world. No pun intended. Let's go to this news report, which I'm pretty excited about. It's a Star Wars story spin-offs. So future Star Wars story spin-offs, right? So future spin-offs of the Star Wars franchise are on hold.
Good.
Right now on Lucasfilm. I believe it's following the poor box office
The tanking of
performance of Solo.
I liked Solo.
I haven't seen it yet, and I'm reserving all sort of feeling about it or opinion about it. I haven't seen it. I've heard it's a fun movie, but I've also heard it's not really the greatest Star Wars movie to ever be produced. Sources with knowledge of the situation tell Collider that Lucasfilm has decided to put plans for more Star Wars spin-off movies on hold, instead opting to focus their attention on Star Wars Episode 9 and what the next trilogy of Star Wars films will be after that one. Sources tell that the previously rumored Obi-Wan movie was in active development, but those who were working on the film are no longer involved. That kind of sucks. No more job. That's it. It was recently reported that Logan filmmaker James Mangold was in early talks to write and direct the Boba Fett backstory film, but that was before Solo's release. The news comes in wake of the disappointing launch of Solo, which was the only Lucasfilm, which is only the second Star Wars spin-off, but which received mixed positive reviews and fell short of box office expectations. The film scored $84 million in opening weekend and has grossed $192.8 million domestically in 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's terrible. What an awful film.
It's nothing to scoff at, but far lower than the performance of other Star Wars movies at this benchmarks. For comparison's sake, Rogue One opened to $155 million and had grossed $424 million domestic by week 4. While Solo did fine by blockbuster standards, it wasn't the event that Lucasfilm expected out of a brand new Star Wars movie. So everything's kind of calming down a little bit on the Star Wars front, which I'm okay with and I'm fine with, and we've talked for months about how that's all I really want. It's just let's pump the brakes on this a little bit, let's calm down, and let's not worry about it.
Well,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
What I hope this means in a bigger sense is I think people are getting tired of prequels. I think people are getting tired. People want new stuff, right? There was, whether it's Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever it is, they want new future things.
Yeah.
And there was a deal, it's not Disney, but Alex Kurtzman got a 5-series deal for new Star Trek, and one of them is like new Next Generation with Picard. Well, people want to know, there hasn't been anything in the future in the Star Trek universe in 25 years. It's all been stuff in the past.
Yeah.
And I think people are maybe just getting tired of prequels.
Yeah.
It's possible, yeah, for sure. Speaking of box office money, the Disney Pixar movie Incredibles 2 flew to a record-breaking launch of $180 million, easily landing the superhero sequel the best debut of all time for an animated film. That title was previously held by fellow Pixar sequel Finding Dory, which hit $135 million. So that just dominated Finding Dory. And we saw Finding Dory. I thought the movie was terrible.
It had moments.
It had moments,
It's
that's
okay.
for sure, yeah. It was all right. Overseas, Incredibles 2 collected $51.5 million. Its predecessor, The Incredibles, opened in 2004 with $70 million, the second largest opening at the time for an animated feature, which is pretty cool. I don't know. That was really it. I'm not going to read the whole article because I don't really care about it, but I just think it's pretty funny that Solo came out, didn't do very well, then Incredibles 2 came out and did extraordinarily well. And I wonder if Disney's really sweating the Star Wars quote-unquote failure of Solo. They're probably just like, oh, maybe we'll just relax a little bit, but they're not, like, no one's going to get fired. Like,
Yeah.
what was that movie that did terribly? John Carter of Mars. That was a Disney movie, right?
Oh, it was?
It was a Disney movie, and it was.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
I liked it, but it had serious problems.
For sure. It was like, 7 books try to rolled into one movie, and that's
Oh,
just, you
jeez.
can't do that. But it made all its money back. Someone got fired over that. I forget who it was, but it eventually made its money back in home box office. So
Star Wars, you'll always make money on home video.
Oh, yeah.
Will always.
Well, Star Wars is always going to make money, but they were trying too hard, I felt. And I kind of am glad they
Agreed.
got a little bit of a slap in the face.
A little bit. I agree with that, too.
The non-spoiler review of Solo from my wife, and like one sentence was the guy who was playing Han Solo was acting too hard.
Oh, that's always fun.
And I didn't notice it so much, but even I noticed it a little bit. He was acting pretty hard.
Yeah, I get that. You want to try real hard. We kind of always bag on Disney for throwing out these small sums to charity, like they donated $50,000 to Burn Center or whatever, and meanwhile they're offering $71 billion for Fox.
Yeah.
So here's a good story: Disney to donate $100 million to children's hospitals worldwide.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool.
Nice.
It was part of Disney's initiative to donate $100 million worth of magic that is Disney to children's hospitals across the globe over the next 5 years. This article actually says fire years, which can kind of work, to be honest with you. The company said it has a 5-year plan to support children's hospitals continuing to follow in Walt Disney's footsteps. This is a quote from, I think, Iger. Disney's timeless stories have touched hearts and lifted spirits for generations, and we believe we can bring comfort to children and families going through a very difficult time. Using the powerful combination of our beloved characters and legendary creativity, we're planning to transform the patient experience in children's hospitals around the world.
That's nice.
That's
Yeah. As part of the changes, Disney will be spearheading the following through its Team of Heroes program, an RFID system that will help patients customize their visit. They will be able to select their favorite characters, and that will unlock experiences like enchanted artwork.
wow.
That's kind of nice. Treatment and patient rooms will be themed and will offer in-room entertainment.
That's awesome.
Play carts will be stocked with games and activities. First run Disney movies and shows in both in-room and pop-up theaters. So like you're in the Children's Hospital here in Oakland or whatever, maybe you can watch Incredibles 2. That's really sweet.
That's very cool.
Disney
Nice.
customer experience training for doctors, nurses, and staff. I like that. All right, we're going to do one more here, and then we're going to bail out. This is a rumor that I was talking about on the last show, and it's pretty much confirmed now. World of Color at Disney California Adventure will not return until late 2018. Disney is claiming routine maintenance is the reason for the delay, but this person, WDW News Today, our sources are giving us a different story. Apparently, the submerged table that holds all of the show elements, like the fountains and the water screens, has been severely damaged. Which is what I said last show, guys. I'm telling you, I get some.
I've wondered how all that stuff can just live underwater and not just erode.
Yeah, I saw a photo of it. Actually, I don't know if the person wants me to tell, but someone saw a photo of it. It was like it looked like a giant hole was ripped in the scaffolding as they were trying to bring it all up, and so it kind of was just existing and not really doing anything. But
Wow.
Whoops.
anyway, so that's kind of cool. I mean, I guess if you're into
I
the
mean,
whole
it kind of
thing.
sucks, but whatever.
They have such hard water in Southern California. I can't believe
Maybe
stuff's
that's what
just
it
not
is.
scaling. Like you're saying, it lives underwater. It's got to happen to it.
Yeah. All right, Brian, we're going to end the show now, and I appreciate you very much for coming in and doing the Disney Patent show with us. I thought that was a good time.
Thank you. I had a blast. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Good.
it's
Yes.
very good.
Interesting.
Come
Yes.
back. Well, let's do another one.
Sounds great.
I liked it. All right, and then today, let's see, in this one right here, today's fact of the show is a quote from Disney that I got from the Disneyland, the First Quarter Century book, which I love. People who have listened to the show before, they know that. This is a good quote. Why do we have to grow up? I know more adults who have the children's approach to life. There are people who don't give a hang what the Joneses do. You see them at Disneyland every time you go there. They are not afraid to be delighted with simple pleasures, and they have a degree of contentment with what life has brought. Sometimes it isn't much either. They don't give a hang.
Don't give a hang.
That's gonna be my new cuss phrase. My new
Don't give
favorite
a
cuss
hang.
phrase.
No hangs.
Zero hangs given here, bros. Again, thanks to Getaway Today for sponsoring today's episode. Whether you're traveling to Disneyland, Disney World, or beyond, Getaway Today can help. Book online at getawaytoday.com/earsup. And until next time, everyone, we will see you in the parks.